Hello, students. Let's take a few minutes to go through the cotton candy grape activity. You can use this to check your answers and just kind of check to make sure that you understand things correctly. When I grade this, I will look for both your answers and any corrections that you need to make. So leave your old answers there if you need to make corrections, and then go ahead and put in the new information maybe off to the side so that you can see what you need to answer. That should also help you to see what you were thinking, and then see see how you can make that mesh with what you need to have put in. What I would like you to do is take a look at your paper right now, and as we go over here to the second page, I think it's the first page that you had printed. You need to probably make sure that you have these genotypes written in. I find that to be quite helpful. It's not required, but I do think that it's helpful. And that allows you, that's using the grape genetics here, and that just kind of allows you to see within the model that we have here, or within this part of the model, what the different genotypes are, and you can start to get an idea of how those might be passed down. So the first thing that we want to do in terms of marking is to mark the parents. And so this is a parent, the Concord, and the California. Those are your two parents for the cotton candy grape. And then we also want to mark the grandparents. And I'm just going to kind of do a big underline here all the way across. And there we go. That's what we've got for our grandparents. So make sure that you have that marked, and also make sure that you have the genetics, the genotypes written in, so that you can use that as reference. You can pause now and take care of that if you need to, and then rejoin the video, hit play, and we'll move on to the next page. Okay, so I've set up a few things for you already on this page. I just went ahead and copied this information about genotypes over onto the back page. You don't have this available, but you can take a look at it here. And I've also set up Punnett squares, which is a really good way to include parents and offspring, and also gene representations. Sometimes you'll see models like this or questions like this set up to where you should show parents, offspring, and chromosomes. You can either draw out the little chromosome and put the gene on it the way that we did in class, like with the meiosis drawings, or you can just represent your alleles with the appropriate letter, the capital letter or the lowercase letter. Either one of those would be fine. Okay, so let's take a look at each one of these squares individually. And the way that I'm going to write all of them in is I'm going to put the Concord at the top and the California on the side. And so that's going to show the parents of the cotton candy grape. And so for sweet, we know that either of these two genotypes would provide sweet for us. For sturdy skin, that's a recessive trait, so it's going to have to be homozygous recessive. Green is also a dominant trait, so either homozygous dominant or heterozygous will work. And then seedless, homozygous recessive is also going to be present. And we're told that. We don't even have to figure that one out. So let's take a look at some different options that we have here for how we might put this together. For sweetness, we know that the Concord grape is sweet. We've read about that, and if any of us have had Concord grape jelly, we know that it's a pretty sweet grape. Um, so we know that we're going to have a dominant allele from the Concord grape. We can set up California as either heterozygous, or we can set up California as homozygous recessive. Either way would be fine. You could set up California as homozygous dominant. It doesn't really matter. When we make this cross, those look like fives. They're not. I'm just writing with my computer. It's a touchpad. And you can see as we go through here that we have most definitely, um, we have three different possibilities for getting a sweet grape. Moving on to sturdy skin, I've already got a little bit of this set up for you. We know that the Concord grape does not have sturdy skin. When we read about it up at the top part, we find that the skin just kind of falls off. It's not very sturdy at all. But if you're going to package grapes and send them out for the grocery stores, you want a skin that's going to stay on just a little bit better. So I've set this one up just a little bit differently. We know that we need homozygous recessive so that our cotton candy grape shows up with sturdy skin. We know that Concord grape does not have that sturdy skin, so we can look at this and figure out, oh, Concord grape is going to have to be heterozygous because we're going to have to be able to get this allele from somewhere, and there we go. So it's going to be right up there because this allele, if it comes from over here, we know that that one is also going to be recessive. Now, at this point in time, we can put in pretty much whatever we want here. Let's just say that the California grapes also have a sturdy skin, and so our Punnett square would give us this. And as we do that, you can see that we most definitely have the possibility from this cross of ending up with the correct genotype for our Concord grapes. The color is just a little bit easier because we are told down here at the bottom that purple color is recessive, and so we're told the genotype for Concord grape, and the California grape is green, so it's heterozygous. We're told that um, that is the genotype for the California grape. So we can go ahead and set that up, and as we go through this, we can see that both here and here we will get the heterozygous genotype that we need in order to make sure that we get the green grape. We do also get, I think I made a mistake on this one. This one right here should be purple. And this one here will be purple also. There we go. So you can take a look at this and see what the cross will give you, so that we wind up with the green. And the spot that we want to look at specifically here is this. So we can see that we get the genotype that we want. For our last characteristic, we're going to look at seedless. And so what I have set up here is what we know. The Concord grape actually has seeds, and so it is capital D, lowercase d, or heterozygous. And we know that the cotton candy grape does not have seeds. And so I've gone ahead and put that homozygous recessive genotype here in our Punnett square. That's going to tell us that California is at least going to be heterozygous, but California, if it does not have seeds, then it could be also homozygous recessive, and you would get this genotype or this result from your Punnett square. Or if we decided instead that we wanted to say that the California grape does have seeds, then we could pretty easily substitute in, make California grape heterozygous, and we would just end up with these as our possible genotypes. Again, here's the genotype that we want, and so we can see that this is a possible cross from these parents. So now as we go on to the last page, what I would like you to see here is that we are going to be working um, on figuring out, well, how could we maybe propagate this grape so that we don't have to go through these 100,000 test tube plants, and so how can we keep getting this cotton candy grape that looks like what we want it to? And so the answer to that is that we want to switch over to using asexual reproduction. So in this case, if asexual reproduction is the type of reproduction that is being used, then we can essentially clone these grapes, or we can take cuttings of them and propagate the grapes in that manner. And so that way we don't have to worry about, oh, which one of these are we going to end up with? And then if we put them all together, which ones of these are we going to end up with? Or are we going to get more cotton candy grapes? We can know if we're just taking cuttings, if we're using asexual reproduction, we can know that we're going to continue to get the cotton candy grapes that we want. And so let's take a look at how that might happen. So here we see that we've got a cell, or a representation of a cell from this plant here. And we could have a cutting that has multiple of these cells, but this is the genotype for that particular um, cotton candy grape for that particular plant. And it's found in all of the cells. The genotype is going to be found all throughout all of the cells that make up this plant. And so when asexual reproduction is happening here with plants, you can make a cutting, put it in some rooting hormone and rooting powder, and you can get the grape to grow, or you can graft it into a sturdy root stock that's already available. You can do either of those, and we'll talk about that a little bit more later on. What we want to see here is that meiosis actually occurs. So meiosis is the mechanism for asexual reproduction. Asexual reproduction is kind of the cause of all of this. And so how does that happen? Well, asexual reproduction has a mechanism that we're going to talk about here, and that is meiosis. And so as the cell goes through meiosis, then we're going to get clones. We're going to get exact copies of the cell. So the mechanism that you can see here is that all of the genetic information is copied over here. And if we want to be technical about it, it doesn't look exactly like this. But for the kind of ease of this model, I'm just going to say that all of the genetic information is copied over again. Um, and then this cell splits into two cells so that we end up with the same exact genetic information as here in this daughter cell, and the same exact information as here in this daughter cell. And so now we have basically clones, or exact copies of this original um, DNA that came from some part of this plant. And so you can propagate or just copy over this particular plant and not have to go through that whole ordeal of trying to figure out, are we going to get the right combinations? And so the effect of this, the cause is asexual reproduction. The mechanism through this is the process of mitosis, which we've drawn out here. And then the effect of this would be identical genetic information. And then down here at the bottom, it asks you to write one sentence describing the relationship between the parent and offspring if the grapes are bred in this manner illustrated above. And basically, you can say that the grapes that are produced are exact copies of the parent grape. So this would be fine. Anything that's pretty close to that. Once you're finished with this, there are a few more things that you need to look at in Google Classroom, and then you have a quiz waiting for you.